Yeah. So again, very good morning to the session of ASSDF, Advanced System Security and Digital Forensics. Now, before going yesterday, the last topic that we covered was on a buffer overflow attack, and we have seen how buffer overflow attack can actually lead to an attack that we have seen yesterday. We are going to see now another second type of what you can say non-malicious programming error, incomplete mediation. Now, before I take you to that, let me just turn on my PowerPoint slide and let me ask you a single question. Let me do that first. Okay, so since this thing we have done yesterday, a question related to that, just to see what should be answer of it. Just look at the code and tell me what happens when this is executed. So what will happen because of this? Come on, I'm expecting the answer from you. Now, what happens when this is executed? So this is again a question that is from a buffer overflow attack, and I'm expecting the answer from you all that what will happen when this is executed. That will make me understand that how well you attend the lectures. So what will happen when this is executed? Index out of range. Yeah, that is true. That is the error you will get. But then what will happen because of that? Overflow. Correct. That is again true. Okay. So Google, what you're saying is correct, but then again, I am expecting that we have seen as last time that depending on what resides in the memory at location 20. So depending on what resides in memory at location buffer 20, it might overwrite user data or user code or system data or system code. So we have seen that depending on where it spills, it can affect your user data or user code, system data, system code. Right. So yeah, correct. So overwriting the memory of an application, overwriting the memory of a code, overwriting the memory of a system data, or overwriting the memory of a system code. Right? Okay, super. So now let us start with the second type of an attack today. That is called as an incomplete mediation. Now, what is the meaning of mediation? Mediation का meaning होता है checking. Mediation means checking. It means you are checking whether my link is incomplete or whether it is a complete. So here, that is the reason we called it as an incomplete mediation. Correct? So it is nothing but an incomplete mediation that we are talking about. Now, what it says is it asks you whether the my link is an incomplete or whether it is a complete. So to make it more easy to understand, let me show you to the next slide. Here, if you can see, I have shown you a practical example. What happens because of this? Now consider that a web form data is given to the server using URL as shown below. So now, if this kind of URL is being sent to a server, now can anyone just you tell me by looking at it that what actually is happening? Look at the example. If you can make out, it's okay, or else I'll explain. It should be HTTPS. Okay, uh, that is true, Google. It should be HTTPS for make it secure, secure HTTP. Okay, that is correct. But then do you think the way of sending a data to a server is correct, or what will happen if I use this kind of thing? API input, uh, not the API input, but then okay. Anyone else would like to try the answer? Now I'll tell you what is happening. Now probably whenever we do a shopping, maybe say from any website, whenever we do a shopping, what happens is it is showing, if you can see, it is the website called as www.things.com in the website /orders shell final and customer ID. Yeah, correct. So Mars, you're correct that we are talking about a shopping cart. So what actually happens is you do a shopping. Now after you do a shopping, when you go to a payment website or when you do for a payment, you can see it is showing you the entire URL on the link. Now, if you know, you might have studied web programming. You might have studied the concept of get and post, right? Get method and the post method. Now, as you know that whenever things happen, whenever we use a get method, what actually happens is along with the URL, it attaches all the different parameters. So here it is accepting the customer ID. If you can see the number, it is asking me how much quantity you wanted of the particular item, what is the price, and what is the shipping cost. And at the end, it is showing you total is 205. Now, if this things, when you on a Google form or on the shopping cart, you do a shopping, you enter everything, details and everything. When you go to the next page, before a payment comes up, and if this URL is shown on your website, what do you think? What will be done? Now, if this URL is shown on your website, www.things.com, orders, final and customer ID, number, quantity, price, shipping, and total. Now, do you think it is vulnerable to attack? If anyone of you it's vulnerable to attack. Now how it is vulnerable to attack? Because here you can see it is showing you quantity as 20, price is 10, shipping is 5, and total is 205. Now it is shown on the URL, and you know you can type it on a URL. You can edit the URL. Now instead of price equal to 10, if I edit the price equal to 10 to price is equal to 0, and shipping equal to 5 equal to shipping is equal to 0, and total is equal to 0, that item will come to my place for free, and nobody will ever realize that what actually happened, because this everything happens automatically. Nobody will ever come to know that there is some flaw that is there, and because of that it is happening. So I can get all the item for free. And if I'm smart enough, I'll not put it for free. What I'll do is I'll put the quantity equal to 20, price I will not put it as 10, I will put the price as 1, so that I'll purposely do a shopping and I'll purposely purchase the same item. I will purchase the 20 items, price is 1 rupee and shipping is 5, and total is will be, since it is 20 items, price is 1, shipping cost is 0, so total will be 5 rupees. So I'll get the value of, I'll get all the 20 items for rupees 20 instead of 205. Understood? I hope it is clear so far. I hope you're understanding it. Okay, super. So now, since this is again what is happening. Thanks, Saurabh. Now, so this is what it is happening is here. Here you can edit the URL. So I'll tell this is the vulnerability in this situation is that the customer has access to sensitive data. Now, customer here should not have the access to sensitive data. An application which is running on the user's browser, what he did was he maintained the order details. Now the customer browser should not maintain the details. Now if you can see here, the problem was that an application which was running on the user's browser, he maintained the order details, but it's okay. If it's maintaining the order details, it is okay. But then allowing the user to change this detail is a problem. And in fact, if you see, few of these values should have been exposed in the URL to the server. Now, instead of giving everything to the client to edit, there should have been something, maybe like price or maybe like shipping or maybe like total, which should have been sent to the server for execution. And the client should have only be given to specify the part number, or maybe you should have given the quantity, or maybe the things that a user will can change should have been given it to user. But then on the application on the server side should have returned the price per unit and the total price, so that this problem would have not occurred. Okay. So now so this is what is all about the incomplete mediation. So so now suppose the input is not checked on the server, why bother, since inputs checked in client? That is what I was saying is that we need to make sure that these things are being checked, not everything by the client, but also by the server. And also they could have used, could send the HTTP message. And because it is again modifiable, it is possible because again we are using an HTTP. So now this was all the explanation about input incomplete mediation, right? The only thing is, as I said, there were some fields which should have been allowed to the users and some fields which should have not been, and it should have been what you can say, the client application should have been given a chance to specify only the quantity and the part number, but the server should have returned the price per unit and the total price, right? So now since you have understood the second type of a non-malicious attack, the third one, now again this attack that you have seen of an incomplete mediation is a non-malicious, right? Now, and again at the same time, when I'm speaking about, it can be unintended also. Somebody might not be knowing that just by keeping it allowing the user, a user can take an advantage, right? So this attack has came probably from a live example which actually happened, and from there we have come to an incomplete mediation. Now coming back to the third type of in a third type of an non-malicious programming error is the time to check to time to use. Now, in software development, this time of check to time to use is also called as talk to. So it is short form is TOC or you can also use it as TOC. So you can pronounce it as talk to. So whenever you say it's a talk to, just bringing about time to check and time to use. That is TOC. This is how we spell, right? So whenever anyone speaks about talk to, it means it's speaking about time of check to time of use. So what is talk to? A talk to is a class of software bug which is caused by changes in a system between checking a condition such as the security credential and use of the result of the check. I'll repeat again. Then we'll see what do we mean by it. Talk to is a class of software bug that is caused by changes in the system between checking the condition such as the security credential and the use of a result of the check. Now, I think it is very difficult to understand in terms of only the definition. To make it more clear, I will explain you with the help of an example. But before that, I'll just try to explain you what is mean and what is being told in this slide. Doctor says that the race condition can occur if the state of the system changes between the moment when some condition was checked by a process and the moment when the action was taken based on that condition by the same process. It means if there is a time gap between checking a condition and there is a time between executing the condition, if there is a gap in between, then an attack can happen. Now, how it can happen? Let me just show you. Right? So you should always make sure that the state of the system when it is changing uh, from the moment when some condition was checked by the process and the moment when the action was taken based on the condition by the process. Now, to make it more clear and more easy to understand, I'll give you a very good example. Now, just take a minute or so and just see what I have tried to explain. Example. If you can understand what have you understood by this example, or else I'll explain you. Not a problem. Just take 15 seconds and just try to understand what it is happening and what is the error or what can be a non-malicious error in this. Yeah, Google. I'm saying that I'm here. I'm explaining you the concept of again time to talk to. Now to make it very easy to understand about how talk to works. This is an example which is showing you what is a talk to error. What is happening? Time to check to time to use. So this is an example. So I've just said if you can look at the example and you can identify what is the problem happening in this. This is a clear example of time to check and time to use. So if you can understand what is given in this example, and you can try, if you can just let me know what you have understood out of this. If you can try, or else I'm there to explain. That is not a problem. Okay, Anas has got the answer. He's saying enter kitchen, enter kitchen twice is the error. Okay, entering the kitchen twice. Okay, it's not the error. Okay, okay, no problem. Yeah. Anyone else has a different answer? Very good, Anas, for trying. Okay, no problem. I'll explain you. Now, to explain this scenario, okay, to explain this, Gokul is saying maid used up the sugar. Yes, Gokul. Yeah. So maid actually used the sugar, but what happens if the maid has used the sugar? Uh, Very good, Gokul. You are on the right path. Okay, let me just explain to everyone with a simple example. What is being trying to say is now I'll share a story with you. You'll understand everything. What is about the talk to error. Now, yeah. So it was the afternoon when John was going to an office. Just listen to a story. You will by itself understand what is the problem and what is the time to check and time to use error. So this is a real life example that I have taken with. So it was the afternoon when John was going to an office, and he told his wife. His wife was a Shana, right? So he told his wife that he'll come by 5 p.m. in the evening, and he told her to keep the tea ready when he comes in. Okay. So now, what he's trying to say is now he's saying that you keep the tea ready as soon as I come in by 5 p.m. So Shana is she cared about her husband. So what she did was, so first thing she did was she entered the kitchen. She did check all the ingredients and what is required for a tea, and she checked that everything was fine, except she found out that there is a sugar which is in the less quantity. But still, it was okay because it was enough to make tea for her husband. So then what she did was she felt satisfied and went to go for a sleep for a few hours, right? So what she did was she has gone to the kitchen and she found that okay, sugar is in enough quantity, not too much, but still she can make a tea for her husband. So she felt satisfied and went to have a sleep for a few hours before her husband came. Now, while she was sleeping, their maid came and they performed his regular household work. Now, after completing the task, she felt tired, and what she did was she thought to have a cup of tea. So what she used, usually she asked Shahana always before using anything. But now since Shahana was sleeping, so she decided not to disturb her and proceeded with making a cup of tea for herself. So she saw that everything required for making tea was available. So what she did was she entered the what she did was she started preparing a tea, and the tea was ready in a few minutes. She drank and left. Till that point, everything was correct. Now Shahana woke up, and since she was sure that there is enough quantity of each ingredient for making tea, including the sugar, she started making it. In between the process of making, she realized that the sugar is not there. Now, since there is no sugar, she cannot prepare a tea, which has been told by her husband to prepare a tea. And this is what actually happened. And she was surprised to know that before going for a sleep, she has checked that there was a sugar. Now, after she wake up from sleep, There is no sugar in it. Now, why it is happened? So this is what actually is the meaning of time to check and time to use, right? So time to check, when she has checked about the ingredients, she found that everything was there, but at the time of execution, she could not find the sugar in it. So that is called as a time to check and time to use. Okay, I hope with this example, it will be very easy for you to remember in the exam point of view as well. So you need to write it. Don't use the example of Shahana and maid, but then this is for our understanding. Even if we use it, it's not wrong. But then we'll use it what is there in the reference book for you to understand the concept. For me, understand the concept is more important. So I hope you have understood this example. Any doubt in this? So this is the problem which is actually happening now. If you think from the other's perspective, there are two processes: process one and process two. Process one is checking for a resource. Process two is checking for a resource. Resource is available and the resource has been granted to a process. Process two is also checking for a resource and the resource is granted to a process. Now, since process two executes, he just checks the process and it executes. Now, process one has initially checked it, so he's under the impression that the resource is available when he's trying to execute, when he's trying to use the resources, but resource is not available. This is what we call it as a time of check to time of use. Understood? If you can just type yes at least. Okay, fine, super. So we have discussed there are three malicious non-malicious programming errors we have seen so far. First was the buffer overflow. Second was we have seen that was an incomplete mediation, and third one that we have seen, it was a time to check, which is and time to use also talk to type of an error. Now, since we are done with non-malicious, there are a malicious software also. Now, non-malicious, it's okay, but a malicious is especially there to actually hamper your system. So now we are going to see what is malicious software and how they are used to break your security. Now, if you know, this malicious software is also called as a malware. That is a short form of a malicious software, right? And I hope all of us know that when we're speaking of a malware, it is actually a malicious software. First three words, M-A-L, and the last four words, W-A-R-E. That is how the malware stands for. So, malware is actually a kind of a malicious software which is actually used to break the security. So what is this malicious software? Malicious software refers to any malicious program that causes harm to a computer system or the network. What is malicious software? Malicious software refers to any malicious program that causes a harm to a computer system or a network. So what the malicious software does is, or what the malware does is, malware attacks a computer or the network in the form of viruses, in the form of worms, in the form of trojans, in the form of say, spyware, in the form of adware, in the form of rootkits, and so on. Okay, so a malicious software can be used to break the security. So it can be in the form of viruses, it can be worms, it can be trojans, it can be spyware, it can be adware, it can be rootkits, or it can be again a trapdoor, backdoor, um, or it can be through rabbit. So these are all the various techniques. Their intention is to only attack a computer or network and to cause harm, right? So this all of them do comes under the malicious software, which is called as a malware. So now we are going to see each one of them in detail. So I hope this is an image which is showing you how the attacker feels when he's doing an attacking and how the victim feels. So if you can see the expression. So this was a very nice image which I found it and I thought to share it with you. So nothing to explain in this. But then the only concern is here we are showing it that how malicious code, how the attacker and the victim becomes when an attacker tries to attack to a victim. Now, whenever we are saying that about a malicious code, the malicious code and main intention is to modify or destroy the data, or the intention is to steal the data, or the intention is to allow unauthorized unauthorized access, or to exploit or damage the system, or is to have an unintended behavior. So these are the various things what actually is being what is required of what actually malicious code does. So malicious code has an intention to either modify the data, or maybe to destroy the data, or maybe to steal the data, or on the other end, after gaining the data, for making any unauthorized access, or maybe the exploiting the system, or maybe the damaging the system, or at the end maybe for doing an unintended behavior. So these are the main motives about the malicious codes. So then what are the various types of malicious codes? We are going to see each one of them in detail. So now, as I said, when we're speaking about the malicious code, these are various types of malicious codes it can be. So this is actually shows you a various types of malware. It may be a virus, it may be a zombie, it may be a rabbit, it may be a worm, it may be a logic bomb, a trapdoor, Trojan horse, or time bomb. Now there are some of the kind of a malicious software which you will be able, which you will see in both the subjects, in cybersecurity also, and also in ASSDF. So there are some concepts you will find it there are there here and there. So then you can use any one of them. So you can make use of each one of them. So there are some concepts you might see in both of them, right? But then like Trojan horse, you'll find it in both of them. You'll see virus is there. So and logic bomb and time bomb if you have seen that, right? So but then here we are going to see in much more detail. There we might have not seen that. So we are going to see each one of them in detail. Now starting with the first one, we are going to start with something called as a trapdoor. Now what is a trapdoor? A trapdoor is nothing but a secret entry point that allows to get access without usual security procedure. So what do I mean by that? It's a secret entry point. It means it is a kind of a secret entry point into a program that allows anyone to gain an access to any system. So it's a kind of a secret entry point into a program that allows anyone to gain access to any system. So the another name for backdoor is the trapdoor. Now probably if you have ever played a game of Road Rash, if you have ever played, there used to be a game called as a Road Rash. Very early. I think you might have ever, at least a very famous and popular game, Road Rash, which each one of us used to play. If you remember, I do not know if I've really played it or not. I do not have an idea, but we used to have it. We used to play it. But then I hope even if that was a popular game, you have somehow you might have tried with, right? Anyone who have seen the game of a Road Rash or you have played with? Uh, I'll just come to know yes or no. I'll just have an idea about whether you know that game or not. Okay, okay, super. So if you remember, in that Road Rash, we used to type the code X Y Z Z Y S P O O N shift exclamatory mark, and your power automatically needs to pop up. This was never written. Nowhere it was written that by doing this you will get an extra power or the extra thing. But we used to use as a cheat code. Yeah, very good, Anas. That is what I'm speaking about. Called as a cheat code. That was an entry point. If you type that suddenly how in a running game you can get an access to an entry point into a game and you can automatically increase the speed. How it is possible? But then that was actually the crux of a game that was actually being done purposely to have an attraction of a game that people will feel okay. I have the extra powers my bike will be more powerful now. So there can be similar kind of an entry point into a system with usual security procedure. Now, when we're speaking about a trapdoor, uh, now I would say the other definition of the trapdoor that it is a method of bypassing the normal authentication methods. Now, suddenly anyone could not have a login. It should have been initially should have the normal authentication methods, but in this case there is no normal authentication methods, and you can bypass the normal authentication method, and therefore it is also called as backdoor. So the trapdoor is also called as a backdoor, and it is also used for the same. So the programmers use the trapdoor initially legally to debug or test the program. Now using a backdoor and trapdoor legally for debugging or for testing the program is not crime. But then when you use that trapdoor uh, for for to gain illegal access is a crime, right? Using a backdoor or a trapdoor for testing or for debugging the program is not at all a crime. It is okay if you're using it, it's fine. because you're using it for debugging your program, or you're using it for testing your program, how your program runs, whether it is working fine, up and correct. Okay. But then once after testing is done, when it is goes to the development phase, you're supposed to close the door for entry point. You're supposed to close the trap door or the back door. But then if you still keep it, and then later on after the production gets done, and when any dishonest programmers use it to gain illegal access, so this was a trapdoor. So what is a trapdoor again in terms of a definition is, it is a hidden computer flaw known to an intruder or a hidden computer mechanism, usually the software installed by an intruder who can activate the trapdoor to gain access to the computer without being blocked by security services or mechanism is called as a trapdoor, right? So it is a hidden computer flaw known to an intruder or a hidden computer mechanism installed by an intruder who can activate to gain the access to the computer without being blocked by security services or mechanisms. That we call it as a trapdoor. Now, once you have understood trapdoor, next we'll take our focus to the next, which is called as a logic bomb. So this is the next one that we are going to take the last topic with. Then we'll end it here. Next time we'll meet up. We'll again continue with some more kind of a malicious attack uh, that happens, and the detailed explanation of each one of them. Now coming back to the logic bombs. Logic bomb is nothing but that is the code which is included in the legitimate program when certain predefined event occurs. So what that it means that it activates only when you have a specified conditions met. Now, it is usually done to cause the denial of service attack. Now, denial of service attack, as you all know, we have explained that that's an attack on the availability. So whenever you are intended, or whenever you are intended to cause any denial of service attack, or the other ends you want to damage the system resources, we make use of a logic bomb. The logic bomb is nothing but the code which is included in a legitimate program, which get executed automatically when certain predetermined event occurs. So let us see on the next slide what is the actual definition of the logic bomb, and then we'll end the lecture after this. Okay, so logic bomb is, it is a malicious program that activates when specified conditions are met, right? So it is a malicious program that activates when specified conditions are met, usually intended to cause denial of services or otherwise damaging the system resources. That is what we mean by a logic bomb, right? So this is what was the entire thing about the working with. So in today's lecture, if you remember, we have started with the non-malicious, in that we have seen incomplete mediation. We have taken, understood, talked to, and then we started with a malicious code. In that we have seen how a trapdoor works and how the logic bomb works. So thank you for everyone for joining. For those who have still not entered the details, are requested to enter the details. Please enter your UIN number, your name, and the roll number in the chat box. Also, please attend. Please give the quiz which is floated every Friday, so that it gets counted. Those who have not completed the quiz are requested to do so. Any questions you can raise in. I think there are no questions so far. Okay, I hope you have enjoyed the lecture. We'll end the lecture here. Thank you for joining.